Hello and welcome to Bolt Action Reloading. In today's video we're going to go over my top 5 items that you're going to need to start reloading that didn't come in your reloading kit. Stick around. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here and you'd like to see how I and the rest of the community here make our group smaller, start now by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon. That way you get notified when I post next week's video and you won't miss anything. Guys, if you're just getting into reloading and you're wondering what tools you're going to need, this video is for you. It's very frequently we buy a reloading kit, think everything's going to be included, and are disappointed when we finally get things set up and start to try and reload. The various reloading manufacturers certainly don't have to buy a Hornady kit. This is going to apply to way more than that. In fact, you can obviously see a Hornady press is not what I have on my bench. In fact, let's clear some space on the bench to go over some of our tools. Various reloading manufacturers sell some very nice kits, and some of them even come with varying content. But most kits overall don't contain the parts we're going to go over today. Just a quick tip, if you haven't purchased your kit yet and you're getting ready to select one, make sure that you want the things that come in it. If you're not going to end up using it, it's not adding any value. So don't think you're getting a great deal. It's just going to be other things that are cluttering up your reloading bench. Let's be honest, for most of us, our reloading bench is very precious real estate. I would love to be able to tell you guys what kit to pick up, but reloading presses are just kind of like cars. You're going to have to pick the one that fits you the best. You very well may pick wrong the first time, but it's going to help you figure out what you like and don't like. But regardless, likely the tools we're going to go over today are going to prove useful to you if you pick them up anyway. My perspective is largely based on rifle reloading. However, the majority of what we're going to discuss today will translate to either pistol or reloading as well. If you're interested in any of the items that I'm going to go over in today's video, I'm going to include Amazon affiliate links where applicable in the description box below to items on Amazon. If you buy any of these items, I'll get a small piece at no extra cost to you, and it does help support the channel so I can bring more videos like this to help you guys out. One of the first items, if it's not perfectly obvious, there's very few kits that come with dies. Occasionally you can buy a press that's actually auto-fitted for a particular caliber. You're going to have to adjust your dies anyway. Most presses are not going to come with dies. So you're going to have to pick the dies for whatever caliber you intend to reload. A lot of my reloading is done for 6.5 Creedmoor, and I've got a little bit of a selection here as far as dies are concerned. Depending on how much money you want to spend, you can go anywhere. The bargain basement bottom of the die world are Lee dies, and that's not saying that they're bad. Lee actually provides a pretty good value. This is the ultimate kit, which actually comes with 4 dies. Significantly on the other end of the spectrum is Redding. Redding makes some very nice dies, but you're going to pay for them. As far as the price index is concerned, a little bit above Lee is going to be a company like Hornady. Hornady does make some very different, and actually makes different levels of dies. So you can get a standard set, a match set, depending on what you're actually looking for. But another one of my favorite options, which if it isn't apparent by my reloading bench, is Forester. You have to decide what's right for you, but dies are something you're certainly going to need in whatever calibers you intend to reload. If you're very new to reloading, I would suggest just picking up one die set and getting familiar with one caliber at a time. Jumping in and thinking you're going to reload 7 different calibers right out of the gate, it's very easy to get distracted. I would recommend becoming good at one caliber, liking your results, and then being able to transfer those results to another caliber as you move along in your reloading journey. There's lots of different options that are going to come with your dies. Even if you do pick something like Forester dies, you can get a full-length die and a bench rest model. If you really want to upgrade, you can upgrade to something like the Micrometer Seating Die. The Micrometer Seating Die allows you to dial in a very precise measurement. If you're doing any overall length testing, it's a very good feature to have. But if you want to spend a little less money, you can buy one micrometer seating stem for the Hornady die and actually convert all of your seating dies for Hornady into micrometer dies for somewhere in the ballpark of $28. It's a very good update. If you're just starting out and a micrometer seating die sounds like a good idea, I do not think you're going to go wrong with Hornady dies. If you want to step up to a little bit nicer die, Forester you can't go wrong with. And if money is no object, Redding is where you can go. I don't have anything bad to say against Redding, but they certainly do try and win the award for the most expensive dies usually. And you can get some great results with any of these other dies. It's very common that your kits are going to come with a loading manual that's going to have some load data in it. Especially when starting out, please make sure you have published load data. But our next item is going to be related to what we're going to find in here. When you start looking in your load manual, you're going to find out there's a lot of different measurements. At least in my experience, it's very few kits that actually come with calipers. Being able to measure the overall length on your loads is an absolute necessity. I'm not going to tell you what calipers you need to get or even that they need to be digital. However, you can get a reasonable caliper for not a whole lot of money. As you can see, what I have on my bench, this is a Cabela's branded one. They're fairly nice. To be perfectly honest, when I picked my first one up, I had one fail in about 8 months, but Cabela's has a 1-year return policy on it. I returned it, and I've had this now for a little over 2 years and haven't had any issues with it, besides obviously having to replace the battery when it goes dead. I have other videos that are going to cover the tool that's on my Hornady kit here, but Hornady actually makes some nicer calipers. If you actually look at some of the dimensions, the Hornady caliper is a little bit thicker. It's not super significant, but it does make the Hornady tools slightly easier to use. They work really well with the various comparator tools that Hornady has, and so I honestly run my bench with 2. Harbor Freight probably isn't going to be something that's new to a whole lot of people that we're talking to on the video, but Harbor Freight has cheap tools. Pittsburgh obviously is the brand. I think that I picked these up for somewhere around $10, and I'm not going to tell you not to use them. However, I will be happy to tell you that I've heard some people insinuate that the calipers you get from Harbor Freight are just as good as any of the other ones. I'm going to agree to disagree, I hope. It's really hard to get it on camera, but comparatively, moving this is extremely gritty. Even though these are still made in China calipers, these are far, far smoother. It's really not even a comparison. If your budget is super slim and you need to get a set of calipers, these Harbor Freight ones will work. If you have a little bit of money to spend, I would upgrade. The Harbor Freight ones run, on sale somewhere around $10, give or take. Another set might run $20 or $30. I actually don't have a set, but I've heard some pretty good things about them. Eye gauging on is an Amazon brand. They're a little bit higher featured than that. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more high end than your Reloading Company branded calipers, you certainly can go that range. And I think those run somewhere around $40. So they're a little bit of a step up. If you guys have an unlimited budget for your calipers, you can actually pick up a brand like Matoyo. Pretty much everyone I'm aware of is going to agree that those are some of the best that you can buy, though your budget is going to decide what you want to get and what your comfort level is. But overall, I've had pretty good luck and got some very consistent results with some $30-ish calipers. But most kits don't include these things. Make sure you have a set of calipers, otherwise you're not going to be able to reload effectively. There's just too many things that we need to measure when it comes to reloading. There are little ways around some things, but you're going to need to know some of your measurements, especially when you're recording them. Get yourself a good set of calipers. It's worth the investment. Since we talked about why we're going to need the calipers to do measurements, obviously we might have to modify the measurements of some of our cases. And one of those measurements is going to be the maximum overall case length. Why this is important is the more we fire our cases and we resize them, they actually grow in length. And if they grow too long, you're not going to be able to properly chamber them. They're not going to be safe to function in your firearm. So if our cases are too long, we're going to have to actually be able to trim them. And that's one thing that's very frequently not included in your reloading kit. And so the tool you choose to do this is going to be a little bit personal. However, if you're just starting out, one of the tools that I would highly recommend are these case length gauge and shell holders by Lee. These are very inexpensive depending on the caliber. Some Lees are somewhere in the ballpark of $6 per caliber. Some do go up to $10 and some vary on the availability. However, you actually need to buy this particular part for every single caliber. You can purchase this bit that can go in any powered drill that you can chuck and tighten down. You can insert that in your case, and that trims your case. And so you can get actually pretty darn good repeatable performance with this system for very inexpensive. If you're just starting off, one caliber is all you're starting off with, this is a very good place to start to be able to make sure you can get your cases trimmed down to length. For all the ones that I've purchased, I know that I haven't had any issues getting these down to a safe length that's always going to be in my manual. A little more expensive option would be something like this Lyman Universal Trimmer. For our Lyman Universal Trimmer, you can insert your piece of brass, lock it down. There either is a hand mechanism on this where you can actually wind this by hand, or you can get this adapter to be able to use it with a power tool such as a drill. This is going to have more availability as far as calibers are concerned. All you need to do is dial in whatever is your neck dimension to be able to trim these down to length. You can adjust these and dial them with an Allen wrench. However, it's going to take you a little bit of time to set it up, but you can do lots of different calibers. This was the first one I purchased because I thought I would do so many calibers. The Lee case length gauge and shell holders are very easy to use and very simple. And so I've honestly find myself using those more than I do these, depending on the solution that works best for me. But you'll have to decide for yourself. But you are going to need something that can trim your brass to length. The exception to this might be loading pistol calibers. Your brass might actually not work very well anymore before it actually gets too long. I don't reload very much pistols, so I don't really want to comment on that. If you are reloading rifle and you're not going to use new brass every single time, and I don't know why you would, a tool that's going to trim your brass is going to be needed to be able to reload. So after we've sized our brass, one of the things we're going to have to do is be able to remove our lube. I always like to clean my brass before I size. I want to keep my dies clean. You're not going to want to get a whole bunch of grit and dirt in your dies. It's going to make them more difficult to clean. And frankly, they're just going to work better if your brass is nice and clean. Depending on how exactly you want to do it, you might want to actually be able to remove that lube. So you might honestly clean twice. It depends what process you decide on. Being able to clean your brass is going to be a necessity at some point in time. I have 2 different methods for this, though there are more. If I was to start over, I'll put a quick picture on your screen so you can see it. I picked the Frankfurt Arsenal wet tumbler. It is a little bit pricey, but being able to wet tumble gets the brass extremely clean. It's extremely effective. It's not difficult. Overall, it's given me the best performance. The other brass cleaning system that I have is actually from Hornady. It's an ultrasonic. It has worked pretty good. If you're just doing small lots, the ultrasonic will be a fine solution. It provides pretty good results, but if you're trying to clean a lot of brass all at once, it is not the most effective solution. It just depends on you. You can decide. Unless you're only going to be neck sizing and you're planning on wiping down all your cases, I would plan on being able to have some way of cleaning your brass. Part of your reloading kits are probably going to come with some type of a scale, and I don't want to start bashing scales. You're just going to have to decide what's good for you, but having confidence in your scale is something that you cannot compromise. Whether you're using a balance beam, whether you're using a digital scale, whether you buy an aftermarket scale, you're going to have to decide on what solution is right for you. Having confidence in the reading on your scale is absolutely crucial. One of the things that I don't reload without is my check weight set. Some people might disagree with this. Even though you might have a calibration weight that came with your scale, these check weights, they're not really cheap, but the accuracy that they're going to provide you, they're going to give you extreme confidence that your scale is reading correctly and confidence from round to round. This particular kit, which I will have in the description box below, has a 100 grain weight, a 50 grain weight, 2 20 grains, a 10. It also has a pair of tweezers, though they're not the best, a 5 grain weight, 2 2 grain weights, a 1 grain weight, and a half a grain weight. With the combination of all the weights that come in here, it's going to be very hard to find a cartridge that you can't verify a weight that's very close to what your intended charge weight is, so you'll know that your scale is reading correctly in the range that you want to load. The last thing you want to do is put a 50 gram weight on there and assume that your very small powder charge for pistols is going to be accurate. It's very important with those smaller charges to be very consistent. And frankly, it's only going to take a couple seconds to put the relevant weight to your reloading session on your scale, verify you're reading correctly, and have all the confidence in the world. If you have any question on your scale, you can always throw your check weights on there. If you see something that doesn't seem right, you'll know that you have a problem and you won't continue on. Safety is utmost important when reloading, and these check weights, in my opinion, are a must-have. If not this set, they have a slightly smaller set. But having a check weight set and knowing what your charge weights are and that your scale is going to read them repeatedly and correctly is very, very important. And that's why I recommend this is one of the items that you should have. The couple more things that we're going to talk about today are going to fall into probably an optional category, regardless of how I feel about them. One of the things that I would encourage you to pick up, especially if you're new to reloading, is the Redding Imperial Sizing Die Wax. You can say I have 2. This stuff goes a long way. I think I probably have reloaded certainly over 2,500 rounds, probably over 3,000 rounds, mostly using this container, though it's obviously on its last leg. This one's brand new, and so I'll be dipping into it very shortly. It's very likely that your kit is going to come with some type of a case lube, but I don't think I'm stepping out of turn here to call this kind of an industry standard. You really should see how your press operates with Imperial Sizing Die Wax to see how it feels, and you'll know how it's supposed to be, whether you're using enough lube or not enough lube. It takes just a little bit of this. One of these little containers can be used to resize lots and lots of brass. It does a great job. And as long as you don't put too much, you won't dent your cases, and it'll keep your cases from getting stuck, which will cover one more thing that we really need to have. Right here is a stuck case remover. If you never have a stuck case, you'll never need this tool. But if you don't have this tool, you're going to end up needing it. We're not going to go over this in an extreme extent, but one of the things I would certainly put on your list, they're not extremely expensive, is a stuck case remover. With this, you can drill the primer pocket out in your brass, tap the hole, and use this kit to, I don't want to say quickly, but at least effectively, hopefully, remove a stuck case from your die, get you back going. Not an extremely expensive tool, but certainly a good idea to have on your bench. And if Murphy's Law ever applies to you, if you have it, you might not need it, but if you don't have it, that's probably when you're going to need it. Now guys, this is kind of get into the bonus section. Depending on what die sets you pick, some of your die sets actually come with shell holders. Otherwise, you might need to get a universal shell holder set. That's going to be specific to what dies you decide to get, and that is certainly a consideration of when you purchase them. One other thing of consideration, a lot of tools are going to come with universal funnels. These will end up working okay. If you're looking for any upgrades to make, starting out using these right out of the gate, they do tend to, static is an issue. Once you end up reloading with them long enough, that problem tends to go away. You can rub them down with a dryer sheet or something of that nature to help. I'm not going to promise it's going to be perfect. Or if you're looking for another little upgrade to make, or if you're looking for that one other present that someone's looking for you to put under the tree for Christmas, and you're thinking about upgrading your funnel game, you could look at something like this precision funnel set. Hopefully you guys can see. It has different calibers, 22, 243, 6.5, 338, 30, and 270 or 7 mil. I certainly don't want to say it's a mandatory item that you have to have, but certainly something you could consider if you want to upgrade your funnel game out of the gate, or if you get tired of the little plastic funnel, it's something to think about. And another tool that we're going to cover under the bonus features here is going to be something like your Trickler. If you are going to trickle up a charge on your scale to get to the charge you want, if you're looking for more precise reloads, Trickler is probably something you're going to look at least if you're weighing out every single charge. However, at least the Trickler that came with my Hornady kit, I don't want to blame all kits, but I just haven't had very good luck with this Trickler. A relatively inexpensive upgrade you could probably make. Lyman has a new Trickler that's cast, very heavy, looks very quality. I wanted to update my Trickler game, and this is what I picked to do it. I'm probably going to cover this in an upcoming video, so make sure you subscribe if you want to catch that. Those are some of the main items that I think you're going to need to purchase if you're getting into reloading. If you're regulars here on the channel and there's something I forgot, feel free to add that in the comment section below. But overall, I really hope you guys found today's video informative. If you have any comments or questions, that's what the comment section below is for. If you like the content here on the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you get notified when I post next week's video. I hope to see you back next week. And until then, stay safe in small groups.